Hey everyone, my name is Mr. Sorrow. Welcome today. Talking to you sages and scholars. And I teach at Hubert Middle School. Let's go through the introductions. I teach 6th grade social studies, but I am also an ELA teacher. And I've been asked to talk to you about summarization today. So we're going to do some strategies. Here's the struggle. I got to take months of education because I started in August teaching summarization. And by the time we're here, we got 7 months to condense into 30 minutes. So I need you to hang on, grab your socks and hose and pull. I'm going to go through one little PDF file. We're going through a PowerPoint, and then we're going to summarize the summarization. Now, you're probably saying, man, I hate summarization. My teacher tells me to summarize, and I don't know how. Well, the problem is you do know how to summarize. You do it all the time. Let's activate some background knowledge because you may not know how to put it on paper, but you are always summarizing. Because in my classes, for instance, I have kids that love to talk about football and basketball. Well, football game, you're talking, give or take 3 hours, a little longer for overtime. So are you going to take 3 hours to talk to me about the game, or are you going to take about 5 minutes and tell me the highlights, tell me a couple of awesome plays, name a couple of players that you like? You're going to do that. That's a summarization. Same thing with a movie. Now, everybody's got favorite movies. Let's pick something that's really big, been lately, the MCU. And you had Endgame, and you had Infinity War, came before that. Together, those two movies combined almost 6 hours of movies. Are you going to talk to me for 6 hours about a movie or two movies? No. You're going to talk to me in 5 minutes or less and explain to me what has happened. The very basic, the main characters, what was the basic plot. That is what you're going to talk about. That is summarization. So whether you do about a book, whether you do about an incident that happened at school, a summarization is nothing more than a shortened version. That's it. You're just telling me what I need to know. But you're not leaving out too much information, but you're giving me just enough. It's a shortened version. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a PDF file. When I was invited to do this, former assistant principal that used to watch me doing what's called reciprocal teaching, I use this in my reading groups. So we're going to try to apply this a little bit to summarization to give you a little structure, a little strategy, because your teacher's going to give you something to read and ask you to summarize it. So let's go to that PDF, and it's called the Unravel Strategy, and you'll notice there's an extra A. You'll say it's misspelled. It's not misspelled. It's just the way you have to have that extra A for the strategy. Now, some of this isn't going to align perfectly with us, but the first thing I want you to do when your teacher gives you an assignment to summarize, I want you to underline the title. Why? Because in the title, you're going to find a good idea of what you're going to be reading about. Now, this is part of the prediction piece. It may be the cover of a book in the title, but most likely she's giving you something that is just going to have a title, a short reading section. The title is part of the text features. And if it's a good title, it will kind of give you an idea of what you're going to be reading about. Now, that's part of the predicting passage. Now, remember, my kids are working as groups usually, but you're doing this on your own. So, once you've underlined that title, I don't want you to start reading yet. I don't want you to do that. First thing I want you to do is I want you to run through and number the paragraphs. Now, if there's only one paragraph, that's easy. But if it's more than one paragraph, I want you to number the paragraphs because what I'm going to talk about today as part of summarization is annotation. Like I said, I'm going to be throwing a lot of stuff at you. So you run through. This helps you to locate your answers. This helps you to organize your thoughts. Wait a minute, where was that in paragraph 2, paragraph 3? When you're looking for important stuff. And this will be involved in the annotation process. Now, the next thing I want you to do, even though you've been asked to summarize, make sure there aren't any other questions. If there are questions, questions are always text features. So I always teach my kids to go and read the questions. See what the questions are asking, because sometimes they're pointing in the direction as well to develop a summarization, the shortened version of what you got to give. The next thing, now this PDF file has a mistake. It should say, are the important words circled? It says circles. That's all right. I didn't make it. We can blame the authors for it. But where you see the second A, after you've read the questions with the first A, the second A are the important words circled, and you see the letter V where it says venture through the passage. What I want you to do is those are kind of combined together, because this is the point where you're going to read through for the first time. And I don't want you just to circle words that may be important. I really want you to underline those, is what I teach my kids. What I want you to circle are the words that you do not understand. Because if you have words that you do not understand, then you're not going to be able to give me a good summarization. And I don't want fake reading. A lot of my kids have had to learn this year that Mr. Sarr didn't let that slide. You have to work from context. And since we're home, it's okay when you're reading through the passage to use a site like dictionary.com, as far as I'm concerned, for me, to help learn the meaning. I love for kids to learn it from the context, but we're not there to watch it. So if you're going to use a site, it's okay like dictionary.com. Go through. Circle those words that do not make sense. Underline those sentences that do not make sense. I want you to go back and find the meaning of those words. This is vital to figuring out how to do a summary. Otherwise, you're just going to just throw something out there to satisfy your teacher, and you're not going to get a good grade. What I want you to do then, once you've defined those words, we're going to kind of apply the E, as you see, eliminate obvious wrong answers and let the questions be answered. Well, we're talking about straight summarization today. So let's apply that to summarization. I want you to the side of the passage, if you print it off, or if you're not going to print it off, in your notebook, annotate that way. It's better if you print it off, but again, you may not have access to a printer, so we're having to work through these extraordinary times, as they're saying. So we're going to make this work. We're going to improvise. Either write it in a notebook, or if you have access to where you can print it off, and I want you to go through, or if they let you edit it in Google Classroom, do it that way. Put, excuse me, put your definition in your words beside the paragraph. Either side, draw an arrow to it. That's the beginning of annotation. Putting information. You've circled that word, put what it means over there to the side. If you're doing it in a notebook, wherever you got to do it. Now, this is the part, the second part. First part you didn't like having to go to do. You've got to do the defining. The second part is this. You got to go to the problem of now reading that passage again. But see, this time, you understand the words you didn't understand. Maybe the first time the passage didn't make any sense. Now it's making sense to you. Okay, wait a minute. This was blowing my mind. Now I'm understanding that word didn't make sense. Now it's coming together. Now we can begin working on summarization. So what we've done at the very beginning is take the Unravel strategy and apply it to the reading of the passage. But now we're just beginning to get to work on summarizing. So I'm going to switch over to a PowerPoint. So bear with me a second. Do you know how to write a summary? A tool for college you have to need, or you're going to need, you need to have. Boy, even I am not reading correctly today. A tool for college you need to have. You've got to have the ability to summarize, because when you're studying in college, as you progress, and for those of you who go to college, middle school, high school, college, this gets more difficult. In college, you can't raise your hand and say, hey, can you slow down, teach? He's not going to slow down. He's going to keep going on. So what you have to do is learn how to summarize, and summarize well. So let's go to the first slide. I'm going to read through these, but I'm going to explain them as I go through. And some of the things I'll kind of push to the side, because I love to borrow PowerPoints. Folks out there love to show what they know. So what we're going to do is read through. And I've been through the slides several times. Some stuff isn't important for us. I'm going to point it out. Knowing how to write a summary is a beneficial tool in college, because it checks your understanding of the reading materials. See, if you really understand something well, you can tell me in a very short, summarizing way. You can tell me in 2 or 3 sentences. If it takes you an hour to explain it to me, you probably don't really have an understanding of it. But if you can make it real short, real succinct, you got an understanding. It can be used as a study guide, the second paragraph, in preparing for exams. Let's stop there. We don't need the rest of that. This is the way you can, this is one of the study habits that you can develop to prepare for exams, to take all this information that your professors have given you. You can do this in high school, middle school, what you've been given, all this information, and learn to condense it, so that when you're facing, especially a writing test, you have the answer in your head. You know it. It's there because you have taken the information, you have digested it, you have brought it down to a much shorter version in your words. You understand it, man. You're ready for the test. So look at the third short. It's only one sentence. A summary forces you to think about the information that you've read, and you've taken notes from it. See, what I've done in school, what we would have done at the beginning of the year, we would have started working in groups. One of the things I do, I use reciprocal teaching as a way of running reading groups. The kids, excuse me, the kids, one of the things they have to do is learn to summarize, and we do this step by step. And one of the things I do is PowerPoints, and I teach them how to summarize. Okay, I'll put this up there. I can summarize that in 5 words. It gets to be a competition. The best summarization, I'm throwing out candy, Jolly Ranchers, because I want to reward kids that are taking the time to take that PowerPoint slide, all these words up there, 1,000 words it looks like, and they'll summarize it in 5 words. That's practice. That's a skill that takes a long time. So what you've got to do is this takes the information you've been given by your teacher, science, doesn't matter, math, language arts, you are able to shrink it down. You got it in your head, and it's there forever. Additionally, it further checks the 4th paragraph, your understanding, because it requires you to condense that information down to its essential or main parts. A lot of times, a lot of stuff is put into writing that when we're doing a summarization, we can ditch it. We can put it in the trash can. We don't need it. We got to get to the point. That's what summarization is about. So we'll go to the next slide. What is it? Now, you've heard me say this a couple times. A summary is a short, concise, that means very to the point, method of stating the main idea and significant supporting details of a reading selection or textbook chapter. In other words, you just give me the short version. If you had to read 10 pages, you're saying to me in a paragraph. That's it. That is a summary. It's the short version. It's the shortened version of the football game. It's the shortened version of the basketball game. It's a shortened version of what y'all did on Friday night. It's just a short version. It can be thought of, second bullet, as a study outline that's connected by sentences rather than numbers or letters or indentations. You're just using sentences to connect to one main idea. A summary, third bullet point, condenses a larger piece of work down to its essential parts. So again, this is breaking it down. Sometimes you hear your teachers use the word analyze. That is exactly what this is. You're breaking it down to where you have that understanding. You've analyzed it. You've taken the reading apart. You've put it back together in a shortened version in your words. So that's basically what it is. But what we got to get to, we started with the Unravel Strategy, reading through a reading passage. We got to get into some strategies to break down now to the summarization point from the reading. Now, this is what your summary should include. First and foremost is the main idea of the selection. Now, let me stop right here. Every year, I have kids that struggle because they'll tell me, well, my teacher told me last year that the main idea is always the first sentence in whatever we're reading. That's not true. Most of the time, there's not an exact sentence that may tell you the exact meaning of a passage. You may be required to infer or read between the lines, figuring out what the main ideas. Now, on occasion, and in our example today on this PowerPoint, to make it easy, the main idea is the first sentence. So a little hypocritical, but it's for you to see. But the main idea, when I show you the exemplar, it's a large reading passage, the main idea is halfway through the reading. So don't ever look at it and say, I read the first sentence, that's the main idea. You have to read the whole passage. A lot of times, X does not mark the spot. That is not where you'll find the main idea. The most essential supporting details or explanations, that is included in a summary. So you only need that supports the main idea. Only the information you have read. Okay, this is where it gets tricky. For instance, maybe you've read a passage about your favorite sports star, and you say, man, I'm this guy's biggest fan. I'm going to bring in some stats. I'm going to go to NBA. I'm going to bring in some stuff. And you get a low grade. The reason is the text is your box. You have to stay with the text. You cannot depart the text. Had it happened to me in middle school, we had to read a thing on great white sharks. Man, I was reading about sharks all the time. And I just wanted to impress my teacher. Well, I had an F. So I went to the teacher, wound up giving me a B, but she taught me. She said, don't depart the text. You knew a lot, but you have to stay with the text. And so what I'm telling you, you may know a lot of information about something you're reading. Only work with what you got in front of you that the teacher's provided. Objective and factual information from the reading. Again, you're not being in a summary giving your opinion. You're not giving your interpretation of what you've read. You're just giving a shortened version. You're not saying I think. No. This is not an opinion. This isn't an argumentative essay. This is straight up just a shortened version of what you have read. Now, notice on this next little bullet, quarter the length of the original essay. I don't agree with that. Because you might have read 5 pages and you're able to summarize that in a single paragraph. That's a lot less than a quarter. So don't get to the point to say, how many sentences, Mr. Sorrow? No, no, no. What I want you to be able to do is explain it as succinctly, as concisely, as to the point that you possibly can. And then you've got a good summary. And there's no way to put a quantity or a certain amount on that. What it is though it takes practice to where you can get it short and practice writing skills, sentence construction, where you don't have to write as much. Because a summary, some kids a lot of times will write the same thing 4 times, but they just say it different. Got to get rid of that. Put it to the side. A summary is the shortened version. Look last. Your own words and the use of paraphrasing skills. Now, when we're talking about paraphrasing, that's your words. You're not going to quote. You're going to hear me say several things this time in the next 30 minutes. Do not quote. Do not give your opinion, but in your own words, take what you have read and make a shortened version of it to show that you understand what you read. So that's what a summary should include. What it should not have, and you've already heard me say this a couple of times, not your opinion. A summary is not about an opinion. A summary is, to repeat myself, to drive that point home. It is just merely giving you a shortened version of what you've just read. Maybe it's a book that you've been required to read. Maybe it's a chapter you've been required to read. Summary is just a shortened version. A summary does not include what you thought the author should have said. You should have added this. Why did she not put this? I think that would have been better. It's not a summary. A summary is not you giving your opinion or judgment of the author's writing. Again, you keep hearing it, a shortened version. And copied material or string of quotes. Summaries are not quotes. You're not quoting in a summary. I know we teach you to quote with 5-paragraph essays. We teach you to quote with constructed responses. Summaries are not quotes. It is just taking information, putting it in your words into a shorter version. Sentence summaries. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. What I want you to do is, and I'll read through the points, but the one I really want to get to is the last one. A good method to build your skills in summary writing is a smart while writing summaries of paragraphs. Well, that's a no-brainer. Duh. Practice makes perfect. So it is working and working at it to get better. The key for doing this is by using all essential points, and we're going to get to that in a minute, and condensing them or making them short into only a few sentences expressed in your words. But look at the third point. A summary statement shows the relationship between several important ideas in a paragraph. So a summary is just showing how all that's been written, all that stuff you've read, goes together. And when you provide a summary, you're telling your teacher, hey, not only did I read this, I got this. I know what they're talking about. That's what a summary is all about. Summary statement. A summary statement should include the points from the main idea sentence, if there's a sentence, or the main idea from the context, as well as the central points. Notice you keep hearing several things again and again. We're going to get to a chart in a minute, a little graphic that will help you to probably put this on paper to help you out. Remember that your summary is brief, it is to the point. And to write the summary statement, you got to use the methods of annotation and mapping. Now we're going to get into some where you're doing something. Annotation and mapping. Now, I spoke about that a moment ago with the Unravel Strategy. Remember, annotation is going to be part of the underlining. It's going to be the circling. It's the notes, the comments, the information you're going to put on your document. Summary of a paragraph equals the main idea and major details. That's it. Math equation right there. Summary of a paragraph equals main idea and the major details that support that main idea. We're getting there. Hang on, guys. Hints for writing a brief summary for a paragraph. Read the paragraph. Now, remember what I told you. I want you to read it at least twice. Read it. Circle the words you don't know. Clarify those words. Get definitions. Put those definitions in your words. Write them on the document if you can or in a notebook. That's annotating. You read it the second time with your notes in there. Now, when you think you found the main idea, first strategy I want you to do. Place brackets around the main idea that you think where it is. This is part of the annotation again. Annotation just means you're writing and taking your little reading apart. And you're writing your notes where you can do stuff with it. and today we're summarizing. Place the brackets around the main idea. Now, underline keywords and phrases that support the idea. Now, remember earlier I said circle words you don't understand? Here, if you find keywords for the summary and phrases that support the main idea, underline. And I always get the question, can I highlight? Yes, you can highlight. That works as well. So if you can highlight, if your highlighting tool works on your computer, or if you print it off, that's cool. Write the keywords in the margin. That's part of annotation. Not only are you writing my definitions in there for me, so you understand it, but you're going to write the keywords for me as well, so I can see that you're building your way to this summary. And you've got, again, guys, you're going to have to be patient with yourself. Me giving you the information, in a minute we're going to get to the graphic and we're going to get to some examples of annotation. You cannot be hard on yourselves. This just takes practice. Remember, my guys, they work on this all year. We started back in August. So my guys at school over at Hubert, they do this very well. Cross out any information that's not important. Now you can cross it out. You know, I leave that up to you. You can leave it alone. You don't have to do anything. Some of my kids do cross it out. Some of my kids will use a different highlighter. Whatever you choose to do, this is your annotation. Now check out my graphic. You're going to make a map. I give my kids a lot of different graphics. I give them the opportunity to do it like they want to. Because kids will say, can I do this way? And I'll say, sure. Because ultimately, you're the one that's writing the summary, what works for you. This is just one example. Now look at the graphic. At top, the top bubble, you see the main idea. And then going down, see detail 1, detail 2, detail 3. Make a map with the information you underlined and marked. I'll say it again. Make a map with information that you've been annotating, you've been underlining, you've been marking. When you write a summary, that's going to include all the important information that you have identified as you're taking it apart. You started with that Unravel strategy, and now you've moved into this. You're breaking it apart. I want you to write a summary. Your summary is going to include all of that information some way. This is the hard part because you got to learn to do it in your own words. Remember, no quoting. Paraphrase. Now, paraphrase, you're not copying the exact words. You're just putting it in your words. So it means, yeah, they said that. I can say it this way. Wait, they took 2 sentences to say that. I can say it in 1 sentence, and I can do it with a sentence of 6 words, man. That's a paraphrase. So that's what I want you to do. So let's scoot forward. I'm going to read this, and what this is our first example of using our graphic that I just showed you. And trust me, I'm going to go back. You can go back, and you're going to see this used. We're going to see this broke down. Now, this particular reading assignment does have the main idea as the first sentence. But I'm going to read the entire passage. Bear with me. We've got to get this done. We've got a couple more minutes left. Computers have become a necessity for both small and large businesses today. It takes a computer less than a second to retrieve information that takes a person several hours to obtain. It is for this reason that banks, airlines, and fast food restaurants rely so heavily on them. In addition, computers can store large amounts of data in a relatively small space. Because of this, offices need less storage space equipment, such as file cabinets and supply closets. Okay, so let's see how this got broke down on the PowerPoint. This is the annotation. This is just kind of a version, and I'm going to show you one that was actually annotated before we finish. And we're rushing through, so we still got time. Notice what they did. Main idea, first sentence. It's emboldened, but remember, you're going to put brackets around this like they show. Computers have become a necessity for both small and large businesses today. That's our main idea. But now look, for our graphic, and we're going to see it put in the graphic in a second, there's only a couple things that are really necessary that are main points that support the main idea. Less than a second to retrieve information, so it's been underlined. And notice to the side, 1. So that's part of annotation. Oh, wait, here's one of my points. Put a 1 by it. You said I numbered my paragraphs. Yes, but you can also put the number on the other side. You can put 1A, 2A, to keep it separated if that confuses you. But less than a second to retrieve information. And 2, computers can store large amounts of data in a relatively small space. Okay, so that's that step. We've read through this. We've defined our words. We've read it again. we have found the main idea. We've put brackets around the main idea. We've underlined a couple things, a couple points we think that supports the main idea. We've numbered them, but that's still not a summary, is it? We haven't put it together yet. So let's see what we do next. Here's your map. We put the main idea in the first box, and this time instead of a bubble. Computers are important for business. Let's go back and see what the sentence actually said. Computers have become a necessity for both small and large businesses. Wait, that's not the same thing. Let's go forward again. Computers are important for businesses. I just summarized. That's a summarization. Let's go back one more time. Computers have become a necessity for small and large businesses today. How many words we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have reduced the first sentence, summarized it, and made it a shorter sentence, more effective. Computers are important for businesses. Two main points that we're going to have in the summary. They're important for business because of the speed with which they can retrieve information. So we wrote down in the box, speed and information retrieval. And in the other one that makes it important, it can store large amounts of information of data. But we still haven't got a paragraph yet. So what we've done is take the Unravel Strategy, we've broke down, we've read the thing twice, we've got words defined, we're working toward a summary. We have now, if we go back, we have went through, we've read this, we have annotated it, we have underlined what we need, we've put in brackets main idea, we've put it in our map, our graphic. Now, here's the summary. We took this and we did this. Computers are important for businesses because of their speed in retrieving information and their ability to store large amounts of data in small spaces. That's a summary statement. Let's go back one more time. I'm not going to go back again after this. Check it out. Here's our first paragraph. Look at the amount of sentences, the amount of words. Breaking it down through annotation, writing in the sides, underlining what I need to know, putting it into our graphic, and then putting it as one single sentence, explaining what we just read. That's a summary. It is that simple, yet it isn't simple. And yet you do it all day, like we talked at the beginning a little while ago, about 25, 26 minutes ago. It's just a matter of you doing this now on paper. So, your turn. And obviously, were we in class, I'd have everybody have something in front of them. We don't have that privilege today. So, annotate, map, write a brief summary. So what you're going to do when you're going to, and this should say read, annotate, map, write a brief summary. So, were we in class? The first thing we're doing was we're reading. We're finding words and clarifying that we don't know. We're reading it again. We're annotating because we're looking to summarize. We're looking for that main idea to put in brackets. We're now, once we've got that and we have found points to support the annotation, what we're going to do then is write a summary. And obviously don't pay attention to the last bullet. The next slide that I'm going to show you in a second, you'll see an actual article and be broke down. So again, to restate, to repeat, so it's driven home in your head. Read whatever's given to you very carefully, article, book, whatever it is. Remember to identify the main idea. Most time it's not the first sentence. It wasn't our example today. Don't be looking there. If it is, great. If it's buried in the paper or if it's in context only, that makes it harder. But when you figure it out, put brackets around it, identify it. 3, you're going to underline and number the essential details that go with that main idea. And then you're going to locate the writer's conclusion, and you're going to write that summary out of that. Now, this is something, we're not going to read this very long. What I'm using this for in a minute is I'm going to have you, in a second, just see what a summary statement or what an annotation looks like. Excuse me. This is the article before someone annotated it. Now, let's see what it looks like after. That's an annotation. And if you can see closely, it is actually in the 4th paragraph that the person that broke this down found the main idea. Notice that they're going through and they're underlining the important things that they need, and they're going down and finding the author's conclusion. That's what we mean by annotation. Annotation is writing, not just to write, because some kids just highlight everything. That's not annotation. I see some of my kids still, they'll have that. We have buckets on their table. I provide highlighters. They highlight every sentence. All they're doing is color. That's not annotating. That's just looking busy. So, remember, you're going to create that map. You're going to read. You're going to clarify, like we underline the title. You're going to read. You're going to clarify words you don't understand. You're going to circle those words. You're going to put that information either in a notebook. You're going to put that information on wherever you, oh, we're out of time, guys. I'm running short. So what you're going to do then is make sure that you are going to find the main idea, put brackets around it, underline, put all that information into that map, then put it into your words. So that is summarization, condensing almost a year of education into 30 minutes. I hope this video helps you, and take your time. Don't be hard. I hope this stuff will help you to get through the rest of the year. Take care.